Hey y'all, so I wanted to do this video. Well, I really didn't want to. It was placed on my heart. Um, and it's on forgiveness. Um, for the past 2, 3 months, I've been really um, dealing with forgiveness. Last year, I dealt with forgiving whoever my sister's killer was. But over the past few months, with the newfound information and just the how it keeps compounding all these different entities that have failed my sister, um, there was a portion of me that hadn't forgiven, um, or for whatever reason at that point in time, um, was in a state of unforgiveness. Um, and I've been dealing with it, and I've been feeling in my heart that I needed to. And I think because there's just so many entities involved, I kind of downplayed the need to. So what I would do is like chop out a branch and then, be like, oh, the tree's not there no more. Um, Knowing in my heart there's still something there. Um, and so, you know, I've been dealing with that. And this morning I woke up and I was supposed to go to the gym with my husband. And the Lord told me not to go. He told me say no. Like my husband kept asking me, "You're gonna go? You're gonna go?" And when it came time to go, the Lord told me to say no. And then He said forgiveness. And I was like, "Oh Lord, here we go. Like He's about to do something." And instantly, I just started thinking about, have I really forgiven in my heart? I feel like we all know if we've really forgiven. Usually, people are like, oh, your actions are a manifestation of what's in your heart. Um, but for myself, I think because, I take pride in doing what's right and being respectful, there's very rare instances where I'll just be out of my composure. But when I was talking to the Lord this morning, um, I realized there was a root that was still there. Um, and I wanted to hold on to that because there's just so many people, so many systems that have failed my sister. And from my viewpoint, it's like my sister was drowning and they all just stood by and watched. And then she died and they all just let the body stay there. And it's like, at what point are you allowed to be angry? Are you allowed to be upset, to be frustrated, to be just so bitter where you're justifying how you feel towards them? And we're all human. But I understand when you don't forgive, there's a part of you that can't heal. And so this morning, God was just like, you need to work, you need to not work on it, you need to deal with it. And I was just thinking about, what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. And honestly, it was just a simple, I forgive them. Like, not saying it, not thinking it, but feeling it in my heart that I do forgive them. I forgive the police department for their errors, for still not prioritizing my sister. I forgive the district attorney for not stepping in when they should have months before my sister was murdered. I forgive the school system and the schools for not relaying those red flags to the proper channels. I forgive CPS for not being consistent in doing what was necessary to remove me and my sister from my mom's house. I forgive the media for their stories that victim shamed and victim blamed my sister, for not caring enough to tell her story in its truth. And I forgive Chris Corsi, I want to say his name. Out of all the stories that I've read on my sister, his story was the one that really just impacted me the most. And I think not even from a sister standpoint, just to see somebody formulate words about a murdered child. Like, I'm a mom, I have 3 daughters, and I couldn't imagine reading that type of story about anybody's child, let alone somebody close, So, all those people, all those entities, I wholeheartedly forgive. And whoever else is out there that I'm not aware of. And when I forgave, in the moment that I forgave, I felt the release of holding on to the burden of just that last bit of anger. Now, with that being said, I am aware that with forgiveness, you're still allowed to hold people accountable. I'm a Christian, and I know Jesus died on the cross to forgive us for our sins. And with that, there still comes accountability. And it's the same thing in life. That was really something that I had to realize last year, but I think I really kind of forgot about that, is that you can forgive and still hold people accountable. And that's kind of where I'm at in my journey of justice, is these systems, they have to be held accountable, because if there's no accountability, those errors, those missteps, those oversights are going to just continue. And, no child, no person should have to endure what my sister endured. So I'm at a point in my life where accountability is extremely important. But I'm also at a point in my life where I understand healing is necessary, and I understand forgiveness is necessary. And I understand that no matter how those circumstances looked, that change and positivity can come from that. It's just I have to be in a place where I'm not so consumed by the wrongs that I can't make the steps for something right. I think I covered all those bases. So with that being said, I was getting ready. Just really didn't want to make a video, but I know it's not about me. And I was getting ready, and I just happened to log on Facebook, and there was a memory with somebody that I was like, why is this memory popping up? And I'm glad I looked at it. I'm glad it caught my attention, because there was also another memory, and I have not yet read it yet, which I'll also share to the page. But a year ago today was the day that I came public with my fight for justice. And how it all came to be was just, it was God. And for the memory to pop up the same day time frame that I'm dealing with forgiveness, I feel like it was just all necessary. So I wanted to read it. It's super, super long, but please bear with me. I just felt like, I don't know, I just feel like I needed to read it. So I haven't read it yet. The last time I read it was last year when I wrote it. So if there's errors or whatever, forgive me. This was just in the moment of all of the coming out, finding stuff. You'll understand when I read it. Okay, so a year ago today, it says, "Hello everyone. This is going to be a long post, so please bear with me. I want to start out by saying God works in mysterious ways. I want to give some quick backstory. Georgia Lee Moses was my sister. It took a long time to really just come to terms with her being gone. I would Google my sister's name every now and again over the last decade. In 2010, 2011, I was in Iraq. I Googled her name and came across Leah Raleigh, the woman who opened up the children's home in Georgia's name. We became Facebook friends and interacted on social media. I always wanted to meet her to thank her for what she did. Now fast forward to last August, September timeframe. There were a lot of young girls going missing, and for some reason it really stirred my soul. I have so much love and compassion for anyone done unjust, but this time it felt so personal. It felt like these were my stories. A few months later, Miss Raleigh passed away. Again, my spirit was moved deeply. I cried like a baby when I read the news. I never went to meet her, and in my heart, I felt this unique connection. February of this year, a good friend of mine recommended I read a book, Waking Up in Heaven by Crystal McVeigh. Our stories have some similarities, but again, I felt something in my spirit in reading this. By this time, I searched George's name a few times a week in hopes of some new information coming to light. I nearly had a mental breakdown because for some reason now Georgia and her murder were starting to weigh on me. I gave it to God and I prayed that her case get solved. I've always wanted this, but now I have the faith that it will be. Ooh. I saw another children's home. I started up. Started up. I'm sorry. I saw another children's home had started up with Georgia having an impact on that. Later that month, I came across a website, Web Sleuths. I saw someone posted about Georgia last year, so I created a profile in hopes of talking to this person and getting any information I could. I checked the page every day for about a month, then started checking a few times a month, nothing. May, I Googled Georgia's name and found nothing. I also started a Twitter page at this time and decided to try my hand at Googling Georgia's name. I came across a podcast, Black Girl Missing. They did a podcast on Georgia in April. It took a while before I could bring myself to listen to it. I finally did, and again, I was moved to my core. Now, throughout this time, I'm floating with reaching out to news reporters, pushing her on social media, creating my own podcast dedicated to her, but I just wasn't ready. I decided I was going to write a book and share my own perspective on it, in addition to some other things. Around this time, I decided I no longer wanted a profile on Web Sleuths. I tried to deactivate my account, but couldn't. I decided to email the creators and I asked them to do it for me. I also deleted my post because I did not want any online presence. I just wasn't ready. Fast forward to Mother's Day. After nearly 20 years, I reconnected with my biological brothers. My oldest brother and I have talked every day since. I did not realize the impact Georgia's death had on him. To him, she was like a daughter. I find this ironic because to me, she was like a mother. We discussed how Georgia's death will not go in vain in all things we want to do in her all the things we want to do in her memory. This brings me to yesterday. My husband and I watched the show, and unbeknownst to me, the show dealt with children being kidnapped and sex trafficked. That same feeling I've been getting for almost a year now came to me. Why is it now, all of a sudden, these emotions are coming to me about my sister? Well, around 1 a.m. this morning, I was working with my husband at Chick-fil-A. Instead of listening to music, I decided to listen to a podcast. I was only partially paying attention because Georgia was weighing heavy on me. I talked to God and made the declaration, in the morning I will contact the Sonoma County Police Department. I want her case reopened and I want her case solved. I went to sleep around 3 a.m. and woke up at 7 a.m. Please really hear what I'm about to say, because God is so amazing. I checked my email before trying to go back to sleep, and I came across an email from Web Sleuths. Someone posted on the thread I was a part of. Not only did someone post something, but they added a flyer and they were going to post some in California. This is the most that has been done in years. This stood out first and foremost because after trying to deactivate my profile and reaching out to the creator, I did not go back on the website. I assumed it was taken care of. A part of me hoped that avenue would remain open though. So agreed the email. After reading the email, I jumped up and needed to just gather my thoughts. I decided to go to the park to just think. I called the Sonoma Sheriff's Department, but they more than likely won't get back to me until next week. I was okay with that. I know things take time. Before leaving the park, I did one more Google search for Georgia and came across a Facebook group, Justice for Georgia Lee Moses. Without hesitating, I joined. I came home, took a nap, and woke up to see I was accepted, and the first post I see is the same flyer from Web Sleuths. I had the calmest peace come over me. Calmest peace. I'm not even sure that gives the feeling enough description. I knew all of this working is God. The timing of everything, it's Georgia's time. This is why I decided to share this story. I'm no longer afraid, and I can no longer be silent on this. I have God with me and some beautiful people who have been persistent in getting justice for Georgia. She was such a beautiful person and a light to my world. If anyone has any information, I pray you come forward. This year will mark 23 years since her passing. This last year has been the hardest for me. I've never cried so much. I've never replayed our time together so much. I know there's a reason in that. I love you, Georgia Lee Moses, my winged angel. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, so that was written last year today. So I say all that to say, God is working, and I just challenge you all out there to really just look in your hearts and see if and where you need to forgive. And I feel like in today's world, today's time of so many injustices, it's so easy to just get so consumed by our hatred and by our anger. And it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be in a state of just not knowing what you're feeling. But in your heart, when you feel those things and you harbor those things, the only thing that can manifest from that is evil. And we don't realize how everything plays into the previous thing. And so for me, I want my fight for justice to be as pure and sincere and authentically good as possible. And I knew for myself that there was a little tiny root left that just was just I was holding on dear to. And where there's a root, life grows. So I've forgiven those people. There may be a time where I have to forgive them again. I don't know how life works out, and there are triggers in life, and there's things that I feel like for myself, there's things I have to constantly deal with. And my sister's murder is just such a sensitive spot where I have to constantly be aware of the things that I'm feeling and how things are affecting me. And ultimately, I know Georgia's going to get justice. And I feel like this is the year for her to get justice. And even once she does get justice, there's still things that need to be done. There's still children out there that are needing to be rescued from these failed systems. There's still people out there that need help. There's still girls being trafficked. There's still, all these scenarios that it takes people caring to make a difference in. And I can't help other people if I'm so consumed by how I feel and how that's affected me. I have to acknowledge it and do something about it. Like my post yesterday, change is necessary, and I want positive change. I don't want it to just be reactive. So I feel like, God dealing with me today for forgiveness was timely, and to see the Facebook post, it just confirms a lot. God is moving, y'all, and I know there's people that follow our page that believe different things, but I just have to share my own story because it's been very, very instrumental in my ability to be fighting for justice publicly. Like, I've never been a public person. I've worked in public affairs and was still not a public person. So to constantly be in the public and, you know, share my raw feelings and my raw emotions and have these sporadics where I just need to make a video and share, because for me personally, I feel like it could have been private, but for whatever reason, God wanted me to share with you guys. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for following. Thank you for your love, your support. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for the people that have reached out that have just been so positive and uplifting. And thank you, God, because justice is coming. And, you know, I'm excited. I'm excited for what's coming. I feel like there's a lot of good stuff coming. So thank you all. Have a blessed day.